Rob Bluey on this is executive director at the Daily Signal, which is associated with the Heritage Foundation. And, what do you think about this interview and what the impact, if anything, might be of it tonight? I would argue Trump hasn't really helped himself in his last couple of appearances or his campaign on the big stage in public. Can he tonight? And if so, how?
Well, Trump always has an opportunity to make news, let's put it that way. So, Connell, I think this is a chance for him and Elon Musk to have a conversation, maybe that goes in a little bit of an unorthodox direction. I don't think you can expect Elon Musk to be asking questions that you might get from traditional media sources. And so there could be any number of topics that they talk about. They could talk about things that are happening in the news right now, foreign policy, domestic policy. They could also go in a completely different direction. Maybe they talk about energy and EVs. There's any number of directions that I think Elon Musk might want to take this conversation. Frankly, I think it's a good thing to see Donald Trump back on X and sharing information. He knows that his campaign needs to get the message out to Americans, and regardless of what platform you're using, whether it's Truth Social or TikTok, he's going to be there.
I think, one of the demographic groups you would look at, I think, would be young men, right? Young male voters, if you talk about Elon Musk in particular. And here's some of the numbers. Who are young male voters supporting? See, Trump, middle of the screen, has a slight lead, 1 point over Harris. But I do think it's interesting, the RFK Jr. number there at 15 at the bottom of the screen, just on the total on the left side. And I want to put up the tweet from Joe Rogan on Friday, because, Rogan, came out and said he kind of liked RFK Jr., right? And then said, for the record, this is not an endorsement. This is me saying I like RFK Jr. as a person. I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. And on he goes. But this is, this influential podcaster, of course, especially with those young male voters we were talking about, the people who might, have the same sort of affinity for Elon Musk. I don't know. But what about that demographic tonight and that vote for Trump?
Well, that's a great question, Connell. It's a vote that Donald Trump desperately needs to win. He knows that Kamala Harris is peeling off some other demographic groups that maybe he could have counted on before. And so young men are going to be, I think, key in a number of those swing states where Trump is running very close to Harris. Any points that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. takes away from Trump is certainly detrimental to his ability to capture those states. We know that in some cases it was 10, 20, 40,000 votes that separated Trump and Biden in the last election. And so I think making sure that you have those people locked up is going to be critically important. Elon Musk, some of the crew from the All In podcast, others in the tech community have signaled their support for Donald Trump, and we know that they have a following among young male voters. And so that is a group that I think is probably up for grabs, and Trump is going to try to appeal to tonight.
Because you look at the numbers, I have them on the tablet, we could put them up on the screen, the overall, we've spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks talking about the Harris momentum, and it's there. But if you just go head to head, it's basically a dead heat. So it says Harris leads Trump, and she does, but that's a fractional lead. When I switch it to the three-way race and you look at the chart, the Harris lead gets bigger. Remember, we used to say all the time, well, who's RFK going to hurt? And it was about even. But to me now, it's pretty clear that it's Trump that she's hurting, and that he's hurting, I should say, in some of these swing states. RFK.
Well, yes, of course, the dynamics of the race changed when Joe Biden decided not to seek re-election, and so that certainly shifted perhaps how those RFK voters are thinking about things. And there is some appeal that RFK Jr. has with conservative or more libertarian-minded individuals, particularly with his statements regarding COVID and some of the things where he felt the government was overreaching in the past. And so I'm not surprised to see some of the support there. I think a poll can only give you a snapshot in time, and when somebody actually has to pull that lever or decide how they're going to vote, they may see this as a two-person race between Harris and Trump and may ultimately decide to choose between the two of them and not give RFK that level of support that he is showing in the polls today.